Hey there, it is Monday, April 1st. Markets were up pretty big today. Dow up 329 points, over 1.25%. Nasdaq was up 100 points, over 1.25%. Nasdaq's closing in on 8,000 right now. It's closed at 78.28 today. Wow, the markets are still plugging right along. It's pretty amazing. Um, let's let's start with the losers today. Actually, it's kind of surprised. I don't know why, but a lot of the smaller name biotechs were down. Biotech in general, I see, was down today. Even the XPI was down, not much, but when the usually when the Dow is up and the Nasdaq are up over 1%, usually biotech goes right along with it. Sometimes, actually, most of the time, even more because it's usually a more volatile sector. They're actually down today. A lot of the biotechs that I follow are down. MannKind was down 9% today. Immunomedics down 8.5%. Puma down 8%. Genomic Health down 4.5%. A lot of other ones down 2-3%. So biotechs did not follow suit in the market today. So Puma Biotech, I've talked about that one before. I used to be positive on that stock. I'm starting to turn a little negative on Puma, even before today's drop today. And I sold my shares a while back before it popped again. So I would be up quite a bit if I wouldn't have sold, but whatever. I was just looking back at a study of theirs with um, their main drug in their pipeline, and it just wasn't very convincing. I guess it's I thought the FDA had a little higher standards than what they do. Their drug, and I don't know exact numbers right off the top of my head, but I saw the number. It was like, wow, that could almost be just like a coincidence, just like it doesn't even have to do with the drug. It could be like, you flip a coin 10 times, right? You could it's probably going to fall on one or heads or tails, probably 6 out of 10 a lot of times, right? Um, so when you have a small, tiny difference in the outcome, to me, that doesn't say much, especially when you have a drug that has so much side effects. This Neralex, I think it's called for Puma. I mean, severe diarrhea, um, numerous side effects. And I want to say that this difference between the placebo and this drug was only like, it was tiny. It was literally like 2 or 3%. To me, I mean, would you take a drug that gives you severe diarrhea and numerous side effects, and then you have to take another drug to for your diarrhea? Would you do that just for a 2 to 3%, um, which to me couldn't mean nothing. You could do that study over again, and it could be in the complete opposite direction. That small of a number doesn't mean anything, if you ask me. It means it's the same exact thing as the placebo. So I don't know. It's you know, I was looking at them from a business perspective, which sometimes is a mistake when you're looking at these biotechs, because they do have a lot in sales. They have over $200 million in sales the last 12 months. But when I started, my morals started kicking in. I'm thinking, man, that's actually almost sad that $200 million has been paid out for this drug that really is no different than a placebo. Um, so I'm not positive on Puma Biotech anymore. So I would guess I would downgrade that one if I was a rating agency. I was down over 8% today. So let's go to the positive. Kind of stock that's probably next stock I would buy. Um, would be this one was up the most today on my watch list. 8.2% was Delphi Technologies, DLPH. That stock has really come down the last year. It was under 50 or under, yeah, I think it was around 15. It's been under 20 for a while. It got over 20 today. Um, I like any stock that has to do with driverless cars because I think that's going to be huge down the road here. So I'm trying to try to buy as many driverless car stocks as I can. And Delphi is they've been around a long time. They're not a startup or anything. I noticed when I lifted up my hood over the winter here, I had I don't know much about vehicles, but I seen their logo on something underneath my hood. So I did some research. They've been around for a long time, but seems like they're adapting. They see the trend coming to in driverless cars, so they've got a lot of sensors and things like that in these driverless cars. So um, kind of, I wish it wouldn't have been up. I wish I could have got in before it was up 8% today. Maybe it'll pull back again. I'd like to get it under $20. So I'm sure being this close, $20.84. I'm sure at some point it'll dip back under $20 again. So I think I'll have another chance at that one. NXP Semiconductors, ticker symbol NXPI, was up almost 7% today. Smart Global Holdings up almost 7%. SGH, I believe they're a cloud storage company. Oil was up today. Transocean, RIG, was up over 6% today. Deutsche Bank, it's a good day in the markets when Deutsche Bank is up 5%. So, yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy today. No, yeah, the biggest actually for the markets being up as much as they were. Usually I have on a day like that, you have somebody that's up, 10, 20%, but Delphi was my biggest gainer, up 8%. And then the biggest loser was MannKind, 8.6%. Let's see, I added it to my phone watch list, but I see Lyft, LYFT, the ride hailing service, IPO'd. Was it Thursday or Friday last week? And they were down. Last I checked, they were down 10% on the day today. I think it was right around their IPO price. So they've got a $23 billion market cap. I don't know about that. I'd have to look at the financials for Lyft. I don't know what their financials. I just took a brief. If you have the Stock Spy app, or if you just look at Yahoo Finance or whatever, they tell you just like some statistics. And I seen one that stuck out to me. I'd have to look closer to see if sometimes I don't even know if I trust some of those numbers. I always go into the financials myself. But what was it? It was the earnings per share, I think, was like negative $23 was the earnings per share. So I know Lyft has a lot of potential, but I'm never going to buy into a company that has a negative $23 earnings per share. So, you can have that one if you want to. Maybe put a little bit of money into it. That would be that one has some potential for some huge drops, as it's showing today already on its second or third day of trading. And then if I have to look at their balance sheet, if they're losing that much money, for me to even buy any stock in that company, they would have to have an amazing balance sheet. They would have to have, if you're burning through that much cash, you have to have a lot of cash on hand. Otherwise, what happens a lot of time with these biotech companies too is they just dilute shareholders. Wake up one morning and they'll announce that they have sold this many shares at this price, which is usually 25 to 30% below the current trading price. So the stock just instantly drops 25, 30%. See it all the time. It's usually smaller companies, but if Lyft, I think, is a candidate for that. If they're losing that much money and they want to grow, they're going to have to sell some shares. They're going to have to dilute shareholders. So I wouldn't touch that one for quite a while here. Maybe that's one you pick up during the next economic downturn. Gets maybe it drops 50, 60%. Then maybe you pick up some shares. So I mean, I know that is, talking out of both sides of my mouth here, I know that is a driverless car stock. But at the same time, if they're really losing that much money, it's going to take. That's not something you turn around in a year or two. That takes a long time to turn those kind of numbers around. So that's one I'm just going to wait on here, and I'm pretty positive if you do like Lyft, that you can get a much better price than than what it's trading at right now. Vuzix under $3 today. We talk about that one a lot. This scam of a company, Vuzix. I wonder what headlines they're going to come out with in the following week here to try to get their stock price back up. Let's see if they have anything out today. No, nothing out today. So stock is down to $2.95, even with the Nasdaq up 1.25% today. Vuzix is down almost 4%, down to $2.95. I've been calling this one for a long time. If you go back and look at my other videos, I've talked about this one just about every day. That it's, I know it had nothing to do with me because I don't have very many views on these videos, but the moment they started talking about Vuzix and their scam that they've got going, the stock just is, my timing was just good as all. Sometimes it works out that way. Usually doesn't, but on this one it did. I've never shorted a stock in my life. I honestly don't even know how to short stocks, but if I would have shorted Vuzix when I started talking about them in my videos, I'd made quite a bit of money already. I think it's dropped about over 50% just since the first time I called them out. So, and they're up to almost $12 beginning of 2018. That's down to $2.95. Like I've said about that one, it's just a matter of time. If you watch their stories, if you ever follow news stories, you're probably familiar with something called PR Newswire. It's just basically if you see a company with a bunch of PR Newswire articles, don't buy any shares. It's just all they do is they just pump up or try to pump up their share price by just coming out with a positive news article about their own company. That's what they do. It's funny. If there's some pretty gullible investors out there, I guess, well, probably not investors, probably just more traders who I think they're finally catching on, because in the past, whenever an article would come out, the stock would spike all the time. I was like, what? I would look at it and say, why? Who are these idiots that are buying up this stock with these stupid articles? And I think they finally got smart or realized what was going on. And, now whenever they come out with articles, now it doesn't have an effect. So I like to check Vuzix. They're one I like to follow. I think they're kind of funny, really, because I like to see the different articles that they put out. Some of them are just, just laughable. I mean, you read them and it's just like, oh man. You can tell it's so unbiased, and they're, some of this it's flat out lies. A lot of the stuff that they say, they always have these dates they're going to come out with these new products, and they never happens. And they're always touting all these partnerships, which never amount to any revenue. It's just the joke. So if you want a good laugh, look at the news stories for Vuzix. We'll see. I'm sure since the stock price is under $3, they'll come up with something here this week, I'm sure. So I'll be watching that one to see what they come up with. I'll read it on the video here, let you know. So other than that, I think that's about all we got today. So we'll pick this back up tomorrow, see if the markets can stay on this winning streak here. Dow closed at 26,258 today. Come a long ways. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.